Let's just start with your first reaction. Obviously, we saw the state of the state and what the priorities were. Now we saw some more of the money, not all of it yet, but what did you think?
Like you said, we saw basically what the governor is saying. Overall, a 0.7 increase in the overall budget, that's trying to live within your means. I think most people would understand that, particularly in regards to an 11% cut or $10 billion from Washington. So it's obviously constrained us in many aspects. Talked about some general areas, infrastructure, particularly clean water. That's important, at least in my district. It's important. Housing's important, and she looks like she's trying to actually deal with maybe growing some more affordable housing, but at the same token, taking a look at seeker, which has kind of held back housing in the past. And I think that's important for growth and to bring in more people to be part of the state. I do think that, we've got some challenges ahead. There's no doubt about it. We have to be very prudent in what we're going to do. I saw the increase in investment for childcare, and the childcare investment is, yes, New York City, but it's also the rest of the state, particularly upstate New York. Making sure that all 4-year-olds have UPK in upstate, that's good. That's a very good start. Expand to 3-year-olds, particularly in demonstration projects. I think it's smart to just work with counties that really want to expand childcare. Some counties do. Some counties don't. So I think it's important to work with those to try to expand it, because we know that's a great economic development tool. It really addresses affordability in the households, because childcare is outrageously expensive, and it could make a very big difference in households' income and quality of life for individuals.
Yeah, and there's an economic multiplier there, as we hear them say.
Yeah.
The other question I do have is, I didn't see it in the budget book, was an investment in the workforce. I think I've spoken with some since last week, and they say we don't know if there's enough people to be able to facilitate this.
Some areas where there is going to be investment, the program they started with the community colleges last year that helped individuals who have been displaced from the workforce, the governor looks like she's expanding it into more of where we have needs, particularly in healthcare, particularly in nurses. So I think it's a targeted investment, particularly using our community colleges, which are usually very agile and able to change to the market conditions. That's where I think there's about a $50 million increase. That's a start.
Okay.
But like anything else, I have not had a chance. Tonight, tomorrow night, I'll be diving into the budget memos, the budget bills, and then of course, as you know, we've got 12 days of hearings coming ahead from starting next Monday right into the end of February.
I do have one about raise the age, because that wasn't addressed. I mean, there's a mention of it, but nothing in terms of policy or even funding for it. And she was asked, and it seems like she's waiting to see what you will bring as a chamber. And the same thing with the Senate side. What are you expecting the chamber to provide there?
Right. So, raise the age, there's two components. There's the financial component, where I've been a big supporter of allowing that money to be advanced to the counties so they can build the proper juvenile facilities to make sure these children aren't placed in prisons. And that's something I think is something we can work through in this budget process. The other item that's important, at least to me, is there's always been a little bit of confusion about when a youth, a 16 or 17-year-old, is brandishing a gun. It's been interpreted 12 different ways this Sunday. Let's get clarification, because I think anyone could agree. A 16 or 17-year-old walking around in the streets carrying a gun, they're doing that because they either need it or they want to use it, and neither reason is good. We need to protect these kids, get them off the streets, and protect our community. And
the governor was asked a lot about Zohran Mamdani's statement. It feels like the temperature turning up a little bit as he pushes once again, as he did after the state of the state, saying he's not going to stop asking or pushing to tax the rich or whatever that might look like. Well, what do you make of that situation right now?
Well, first of all, every elected official has their typical lines, and they're going to use them day in and day out. Well, the reality is, if you actually take a step back and look at this budget and look at the Wall Street bonuses, which we are taxing heavily, we are actually taxing the rich. A lot of people are focused on raising the rate. I'm focused on making sure they have enough revenue. And quite frankly, you can either raise the rate with running the risk of running people out of this state, or you can raise the base, which is their pay. And bottom line is, when everyone's pay increases, we all benefit. And I think that's where the focus should be. She made it very clear. She's not raising taxes on anybody in the state of New York unless you use Zinn, right? And that's basically a user consumer tax. and she's just taking Zyn, which those nicotine pouches, and put them at the same level as tobacco.
And just to go back to the rate that they're looking to restore the corporate tax rate for another 3 years because it dropped, it's sunset, right?
I don't think what the proposal is on the corporation business tax is to continue it.
Right.
Not to raise it,
Right.
not to lower it or restore it, but to continue it.
Right.
That's a difference.
And you think your conference and your chamber will
I
support that?
I think that's something that, particularly when you look at the generous tax relief from H.R. 1 this past summer, even I've seen some of the New York City business leaders saying what she's proposing is understandable considering the fact that we have a federal government that has actually been going after states like New York, and we have to work through this process. Once again, though, I hope that the market continues to grow. I hope Wall Street continues to be successful, because when they're successful, we receive more tax revenue, and that allows us to support other programs. I was glad to see she actually put in a 1.7% increase for those who work with our most vulnerable communities. Their goal is 2.7. I think the state legislature is going to work towards that goal, and I think that's important because that's a workforce that's critical that people don't see, that it cares for our most vulnerable populations, whether it's children, whether it's our elderly, or whether it's our individuals with disabilities.
Interesting. Thanks, John.
Yep.